How are you today?
I'm wonderful, and thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, no, it's really, really interesting. I've been watching you for quite some time too, and what an inspiration you are. Just all the things that you do to help people, it's really cool. Yeah,
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you very
yeah,
much. Thank
you're
you.
welcome. So, Dan, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay. Um, uh, what I do? Well, about 20 years ago, I got into health and wellness because I had a spine injury, and I was in bed for a couple of years with herniated discs. Of course, I was medicated. Plus, yeah, a lot of things happen from that. Chronic pain can have chronic stress and depression, anxiety. And so I kind of hit that proverbial rock bottom and decided that I needed to heal this myself. Western medicine was, trying its best, but it just wasn't working. So I did found yoga, and I pretty much, went and lived at an ashram and was running around in just a couple weeks with these crazy yogis that pretty much put my body and my mind back together. So it's been a 20-year journey, just learning everything I could. I kind of went deep into that. I left a multinational corporation, 3M, that I worked for, for a better part of 13 years, and just decided there was something else than, after my injury. So I went into the world of yoga, meditation, breath work, mindfulness. I think, I like yourself, I went out and got all kinds of different certifications, just kind of consuming knowledge at an incredible pace because of what yoga had done. And I really wanted to expand on that, became teacher in all of these things. And then it was about 6 years ago, I found Wim Hof. Really felt, or no, it was about 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I started practicing it, though I met Wim about 7 years ago, became an instructor, now help train his instructors. I'm a level 3 in that right now. I've been into performance coaching. So all my tools, I kind of figured when the COVID hit and all that, I started working online, and I started to realize that there was a need for coaching online. And the performance part of it was something that I really enjoyed because I've worked with athletes. And at the moment, I'm working with professional athletes, NCAA teams. I'm the performance coach, one of them, for CSOR, which is the Canadian Special Forces. And yeah, quite a few clients in the performance coaching, RBC, the Royal Bank of Canada. So that's what I'm doing at this moment. I do have a spa here that is on my land, and it's a performance kind of it's a performance enhancing, we like to look at it way, for helping people calm using sauna, ice baths, and different therapies from yoga to breath work. And I have actually another center that's just 20 minutes down the road in Brockville, Ontario, where we also teach yoga. And I've therapists there from massage therapists to cranial sacral and all that going on there. So a lot of healing modalities. But yeah, at this moment, I travel a lot. My main thing is breath work. I work a lot with breathing, and it's kind of funny how it's become such a huge trend. It's not the sexiest thing in the world when you think about it, but it flies me all over the world. I'm gone next week for almost a month, flying to Costa Rica, to a bunch of different places to teach. So, yeah.
So you just mentioned that breath work is really picking it up. Why is that? Why people are looking into breath work?
Oh, I really believe that. And I don't like to say it. I won't say it. I'll call it the C word. A couple of years ago, when we were all kind of stuck and locked down, I think that it really shone a light on all of us and kind of put us in front of the mirror, and we kind of saw some things that maybe we didn't like, so to say. But a lot of the mental health part of it was really brought up, to the forefront. And, for 5,000 years, I lived at ashrams, and I've been teaching breathwork for 20 years. For 5,000 years, breathwork has been around, and it's been used to, help people, manage stress. and it's been used for cathartic releases, releasing trauma. And I think that we're at the point in the world right now where we need to kind of get back to basics. We have technology which keeps us very distracted, and breath work is kind of like the bridge to meditation. And I always say it, meditation sucks. Nobody wants to sit by themselves and watch their thoughts. I always say people can't sit by themselves, quietly because they don't like who they're sitting with. So it's the mind that's in the way. And what breath work has done, and I'm a meditation coach, but I teach breath work first. Breath work is the bridge to it. It's hard enough, like I said, to sit still with our thoughts. But what breath work does is it gives us the ability to do an exercise, focus our mind on our breath, which is really focusing on our body, and it gives us that almost forced self-awareness, a forced mindfulness. Because to do it naturally, and I went and lived at ashram, and you're in a temple for hours a day, and you have to deal with it. But when I was introduced to breath work, I was like, oh wow, there's something here. Because in a very short period of time, you can change how you feel. And because of the mental health issues that are going on now, people, and I always say it, I say, I know your deepest, darkest secret. I know everybody's deepest secret in the world. They're not darkest, but their deepest secret is they want some peace of mind, especially because the mind is being overstimulated, oversaturated with so much information, and most of it's untrustworthy. So when I work with people, that's what they say. They can't believe that in the span of 30 breaths, you can shut your brain off and manipulate your nervous system, because you're experiencing life, and I'll finish it like this, because I'm a yogi, I like to do circles, big circle, come back around. But you experience life through your nervous system and chemistry. So the thing about humans is that your state of breathing influences how you feel, your nervous system, your mind. So we can manipulate our breath to manipulate the nervous system, our chemistry, and our state of mind, and pretty much our state of being. So I think it's not sexy. It's very basic. When I ask people, how are you breathing? They're like, I'm breathing. I don't need, why do I need to learn how to breathe? But then when you run them through an exercise and they're guided into that exercise properly and given little tools, what they can do is they can practice mindfulness or self-awareness. So it's connecting the mind, the body, and the breath. It's this trifecta, I call it. And when you do that, you bring yourself into a place where you see your thoughts and you're not involved or attached to them. So breath work is also something that, and we're seeing a big trend in the West, because I travel the world, and, some of my teachers that, they're in, down South America or India, and they said it's so funny, North Americans need books on how to relax, which is the strangest thing.
Someone needs to
So,
tell you how to do it, right?
right, and we're in a place right now where, my family in Spain says, La vida deprisa, North Americans live to hurry, their life of hurry. My Dutch friend of mine says, North Americans save for the grave, and it all just goes back to work, stress. We have to stress. We're born, and it's programmed into us. You have to work really hard and stress a lot. But because of technology and everything, now there's this perfect storm, and that's why breath work now, it's been overlooked, because we always have needed it, because it helps us be more mindful and peaceful in that. But because we're now in this perfect storm, I call it, after the C word came in, 2 years locked down, then it lowered the vibration of where we were. So now we got to go back up. And the great thing about breath work is that in a matter of a couple minutes, I can have somebody change their narrative like that and feel something different. So it gets you out of your head, because we're under feeling, and the breath work gets us connected to the body again, so we can feel and let go of, I call it, the mind stuff on the outside. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I find too that a lot of people, like you mentioned before, like they think they know how they breathe, but they don't know how to breathe. Their breath are very short, and
Hmm.
the breath needs to be a little bit deeper. into your
Yeah.
belly and then release it, right? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved it when I came back from Nicaragua. It was same thing. It was just so beautiful to connect. And when you
Hmm.
mention about living in this fast space here in North America, over there it literally strips you from everything, and you are living literally in simplicity because
Yeah.
everything you just literally you wake up with the sun and you kind of go to bed with the sun and you enjoy the day. There's no stress. I mean, yes, it's a retreat, but even just being surrounded by these local people, they're so happy. They're so
Mm.
happy. It made me happy. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
this is the place I want to be. So one day,
Yeah.
probably, yes, I will end up going there.
Yeah. I was just in Africa last October. I climbed Kilimanjaro with the team, and I spent some time in Zanzibar and Moshi and Arusha, and it was amazing to see these extremely powerful, strong, resilient people that humans that never complained, and they have a lot to complain about by our standards. And then I see, you come back and we see our first world problems, and they really don't stack up. So I really, that was one thing that really hit home when I was in Africa, is how beautiful the people were, smiling and so loving, and they don't have anything, and
I know.
they look a hell of a lot happier than we are over
Yeah,
here.
it's true. This is what I discovered too. That's Nicaragua is the second most poorest country in Central America, and I was like,
Hmm.
really? But seeing those kids just being out there and being kids and enjoying themselves and laughing and running with the neighbor kids, it reminded me actually of my childhood when I was young. Like I grew up in Poland, and
Mm.
and it was the same thing. You went outside and you didn't come home till supper time, kind of thing, So
Yeah. You
it
weren't
felt,
allowed to.
yeah,
Don't
yeah,
come home. I don't want to see you until supper.
right. And then my mom would stick out her head through the window and she would call my name out loud in the whole neighborhood, you know?
Yeah,
So I would hear my
you
name.
knew.
I'm like, okay, I have to go. And then I would
Yeah.
go home.
Yeah, it's funny
Great
because
memory.
you look at it. Yeah, you look at it. We were forced outside, and now everybody's stuck inside.
Yeah.
It's such a different world. But when you were talking about Nicaragua, often the simplicity of life, but also being grounded in nature and not having a life so complicated. Because, for me, finding balance in how my life has changed since the C word, but it had me pivot, but it also had me evolve into something else, instead of running workshops and Wim Hof stuff and retreats and that, to this online performance coaching world. And I can't believe how complicated it is because of the apps and because of the scheduling and this, and then it was interesting when I blew up on Instagram, and I got my first 100,000 followers. It was all of a sudden, and I had to get an assistant because all this stuff I had to figure out, and click funneling and offers, and I'm like, and setting up a merchandise store, my merch, because what made me viral or famous on Instagram was Protect Your Peace, that
Right.
I said at the end of one thing they loved. And I mean, I look back now at that, which was only even just last year. It was last June. I think that first big one hit, and I can't believe all of the apps and softwares and I can't. It's just and then of course an email list, and then now I have to have this because I have a massive email
Yeah.
list. It's huge now, but okay, now I got to pay for that. You got to pay
Yeah.
for this. You got to pay for that, and I'm like going, oh wow. So I really, I'm really loving my friend Steve, Yogi Steve, who's an amazing branding guy. He's come on and he works hard, but I don't know what I'd do without him right now. I don't know.
I totally understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an interesting world out there when you get to that
It
point for sure.
sure is.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about Wim Hof.
Wim Hof. What do you want to know about Wim? Do you want to know about
Well,
Wim or the method?
the method, like or first of all, how you
Okay.
got into it, and what was so attractive to you that you went and did the course with him, and then you pursue this um, path of the cold plunges and things like that.
Yeah. So, well, actually, I was going through a pretty hard time at the time. There was some struggle. There was some, health issues with family members, some pretty serious ones, my father included, and mortality stuff was kicking in with some of the people I knew, and it was something I wasn't really familiar with. So I found myself, you know, feeling those feelings, that darkness, um, that mental health thing. My mental health was, I could tell something was going on, and step back, as a person that is mindful and practicing self-awareness. I was like, you know, is there something else I need right now? And by chance, my one of the massage therapists at my wellness center, he was, oh, and I tore my Achilles on top of all those health things. So I had an Achilles tear. And I don't know if, and you don't know if you know maybe, but when your Achilles is cut, when you tear it, you have to sit down. The universe says stop. And I was going pretty hard. So, I remember my therapist saying, Dan, you got to check out this guy. I've been watching him on YouTube. His name's Wim Hof. He's the Iceman. He does all this stuff with cold, and he's broken all these world records, and he does breathing and cold. And he goes, and I was like, oh, okay, so, but by chance, it was a little while later, and I saw something pop up, and I was on YouTube. I think I was actually trying to learn how to salsa or something. And this superhuman thing came up, this movie, and I watched it, and it showed him, they saved him for last, and they showed all these world records and stuff he was doing. And I was like, I couldn't believe that, actually they showed other guys, hanging with the hooks through their back, the skin, and hanging in India, and guys putting stuff down I can't remember, their nose like a sword that could, just nick their heart and they're dead kind of thing. And I thought, well, that doesn't look superhuman. That looks super stupid. But then they get to Wim, and I was like, really? And
Blown
then they
away.
showed him I was blown away. I was like, and his energy was just like infectious. I was like, oh, I gotta check this out. So, being a breathwork coach, I found some people breathing online that were saying it was a breathwork, and it wasn't really how they taught it, but I still did it, and I was like, holy cow! I did some cold. I took a really cold shower, and I had this massive cathartic release. Like I was crying for, I don't know, probably an hour. And it felt like I'd lost like 100 pounds when I was done. And I was like, oh, it was funny. I was looking for an answer, and the universe was amazing, and it provided this thing for me. So I kind of went down the rabbit hole with it. And my wife was going through something too. And I said, look at this. Like, let's try this. So we did it. And same thing with her. She's like, oh my God, she's releasing. And so I kept practicing and made some mistakes with it, because I wanted to be the Canadian Iceman. But then, nobody can be Wim Hof, because he's just a different human being. He's like, he is like superhuman, the things that he can do. And so I was like, okay, it humbled me a few times. And I said to my wife, I said, you know what, this has helped us so much. I'm going to become an instructor, because I'm always taking certifications, always courses, learning stuff. I think we mentioned before, like you were talking, just adding more flavor to what you can do, and things that will help you. And so I thought this is something that I'd like to do, because it's helped me so much, just like yoga helped me so much. That's why I went into teaching. So, I felt that I was obliged to do this, and I did. I took the course. I got to meet him, and I'm lucky because I was one of the first groups over here in North America, well, I think second, or to become instructors with him. And so I got to meet him, and I actually got to train with him, and it's just like, wow, the guy was, I was in LA once with him, then I was in Oregon with him. And I was just blown away, and the energy you leave with it. And then I decided, I went, you know what, like this, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put my effort into this. So I ended up, meeting some amazing people. I put over, I think, 2,200 people in ice baths in my workshops, in my seminars and stuff. And in those, I think, 7 years now I've been doing it, I've met so many people. It's taken me all over the world, and I was fortunate enough to be offered level 3 with the Wim Hof Academy, which allows me to be with the Academy and the Inner Fire Academy and be with Wim. I get to, go and see him and train beside him and, train others. And then I also help the instructors getting trained now too, which is good, which is amazing. I love it. I love teaching. So it's just taken it to a different level. Now I incorporate it into my corporate coaching and it's amazing. Like huge companies, like here in Canada, Hexo was a cannabis company. They brought me in, the CFO, and he had the whole management staff do it. You got to do it. And I walked in and I was like, they're looking at me like they want to, throw me out of there. But then we got them all into the bath, and it's amazing. Like them and where else? I mean, I've gone to places where they're like, no, we want this training, because it's become a huge thing in the world right now. The Wim Hof method. It's like he's put cold, which has been around, and he's also, especially, which I love, is he's put breathing on the mat, the breath work. And it's a very simple technique, but it works. And, since then, it's been a wild ride. I'm just about to set up 2 weekend retreats, a 5-day experience coming this year, and some workshops now that I've got this place here open, this spa that I've just opened up. So, but yeah, I got into it just, again, for personal reasons. And it helped me so much that, I really believe that, when something helps you like that, and in my world of helping others feel better, it was just like you said, it's another tool in my belt. Plus, I just felt obligated that I needed to share, what had happened to me and what it had helped me with a lot of people going through the same thing, with mental health issues and even body. Like, I mean, it's, without getting into it, I've seen some pretty amazing things happen with some pretty messed up people that, 20 years in Western med didn't do anything. And then this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So I don't like cold water. And I live not far away from the Gatineau River in Wakefield, which
Okay.
is pretty cold, especially here in Canada, because we're neighbors. So when we started talking, you're from Ottawa, I'm from the same region, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So I have the option to go. My husband does it. He goes, not in a cold, but like in early spring, he'll go into all the way fall. And I'm a little chicken going, nope, put my little toe in, nope, not going in. But a funny thing is, if I'm in the shower, so I have my regular shower with warm water, and then what I'll do is I'll turn it into cold. And I'll sit there for a minute and two, and I'm fine with that. But it's just going into that cold water. I'm having such a hard time. So I find it that I'm having this little war with my mind. It's just the mindset maybe that I have that is just like, nope, you're not going in there. So maybe I'm not ready. I just have to maybe slowly
Take your time. You know what? I'll give you do you want the secret to it?
Yes.
And I want to tell you, first thing, the people that do ice bathing in the water and submerge themselves, they usually hate cold showers. They can't do them. They don't like them because of the water moving. So I'm going to tell you one thing. Cold showers are actually more difficult than ice baths for most people.
Oh, I did not know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so there's a trick, and I'll give you the trick. And it's actually the trick you can use for any kind of stressful situation, any little mini ice bath of life, so to say. But when you get into stress, your breath, and you mentioned it, changes. You're shallow. But when you get into a noxious experience, which is a painful experience, like the ice water can be, because it's below 15 degrees, 14, I think it's noxious, and then it becomes painful. Your physiological responses, we have all these cold shock receptors, everything that sends signals to what's happening in your environment and how you should respond to it. So when you get into ice cold water, and that's why the special forces love it, because it's a simulator of battle. Because that's what's happened. You've gone to war. You're in war. You're in it's probably one of the most purest forms that you can use to put you into the highest state of fight or flight, almost being hit by lightning, it feels like. Now, when that happens, Even if, say, a car brushes by you and you almost get hit by it, what do? Like that. What do you do when you get into cold water and you try to get in? Your body's response is to breathe you out, to do this, and you tense up. So what you have to do is just relax and go, push it all the way out. There's the trick right there. Because you have a balance to your nervous system, right? You go, inhale is sympathetic, fight or flight. Exhale is parasympathetic.
Right.
So right there, the binary tool of your breath can help you with stress. So when you're stressed, take a big breath and then go, and the ice water will continue to keep breathing you out, and you keep going, and then you'll switch to nose, and then, and what you've done is you've cross-adapted, because that's the whole point of it, and that's why it's a really powerful tool, is that if you can control a noxious, painful experience that your body's saying and it's reacting, get out, and you're saying, I'm good, then I'll say, I love to use this example, on Monday, people take my workshop on Saturdays, and I always say, okay, so Monday, and I'll give you an example. I said, you've just handled that stress and told your nervous system, I got it. So I said, the guy at the water cooler that said something to you 5 years ago at work that upset you, and you're still holding on to it and you see it there, that guy doesn't trigger you anymore, because now your nervous system's saying, okay, well, if you can handle, imminent death, which is what the body's reacting to, because if you stay in cold water, it's dangerous. It can kill you. But it's only time that adds danger to cold water, unless you have an underlying condition. So imagine being able to use that tool as a precise tool to harness the energy inside of you so that you can handle that. That makes you very powerful in the outside world, in the external world, because it's all internal when you get into the bath. Your bills go away, your issues in relationships, the guy at the water cooler, he's non-existent anymore. Yeah. You're faced with, that's it right there. So it's a without getting into a lot of the benefits and the so-called benefits, because we do have to be clear on it, that there's very little research done on cold. There's a lot of claims being made, but there is study, and Huberman said, 11 minutes, and he's popular, but the study that he calls from is somebody that's not a cold expert, and it's somebody that used very few data points. So, I work with Francois Hamann, who's, he's a thermogenesis expert, and, he's explained to me what's going on. Like, there's very little research to it, which is good, because we're doing it now within my team, actually. But I remember talking to Mark Cohen, who's another guy, and he said, yeah, we got 20 years to figure this out, because there's so much going on. But I always say, if you feel better and pain's going away, and things just get better, then feeling is, like Wim says, is the understanding, the actual, and that's the benefit of the method, I think, is you feel, like they say in the Wim Hof camp, it helps you to feel more happy, more healthy, and more strong.
Yeah, and you basically, you're facing yourself in that, right? So it's like you were mentioning it to me. I have that fear of getting in the cold water. It's like, how do you manage that? How do you tell yourself, it's okay, I feel safe, right? This brings me back to, but this brings me back to, in Russia, this is what they used to do with their children. Okay, they didn't put them in the cold waters, but they would, let's say in kindergarten or daycares, for example, they would all line them up and they would sleep outside, right? Mm-hmm. Or they would run around in their underwear in a snowy day, and they would throw snow at each other. And it's been so long that people know that this exists, and it's good for your health, for your immune system, and everything, right? So this is great.
Yeah, it makes you stronger physically, because we're supposed to be challenged. Adversity is how humans have survived, but we've taken adversity out of the equation. Like like gravity right now. What are we doing? We're sitting down. We're rounded shoulders. We're sitting here. Hopefully we're sitting up straight. But we've taken out adversity, and as technology, like the invention of the wheel, it made our lives easier. But now, when we go all the way till now, the invention of what we're using right now, like imagine the technology that's in this phone is more than, the Apollo mission that put somebody on the moon.
Right.
But, we've now taken all of the adversity out of the equation. So now we have to go to the gym. We have to do certain like practices and condense them to keep this body and this mind strong. So the comfort zone is the thing that we are taking, like we almost think that like comfort is success. And that's a really dangerous way of thinking, because that's why we're seeing so many of these issues. And when you look back I seen the thing with the Russian kids, they had the babies out, all wrapped up outside. And then the kids in the sauna and then running out and doing in their underwear. I've seen that one too. And the article I read on that was also I think it's a town in Ireland, and there was a bunch of different little places they talked about where people in this Ireland place, it's a small little village, but everybody goes into the ocean. They ocean swim at like 40 some degrees. But also the towns in Russia that they're doing this, the doctors only deliver babies or mend or help cast a broken bone. There's nobody that's sick. Like nobody gets sick. So that has a testament to do, but it's shown that, and it has been shown that white blood cells have reacted to certain things, but it's one of the hardest things in fundamental science that hasn't been shown or anything is to calculate the immune system. So I'm lucky that I get to nerd out with university research scientists, and I get to learn a lot about what's going on, right? And what the methods, what the ice bathing has been doing.
Yeah,
But
and how it
it's
affects.
getting us,
Yeah.
yeah, it's getting us out of our comfort zones. That's why it's so powerful, because for 2 minutes, like you said, you face yourself and you face your whew, and then all of a sudden you become so powerful when you actually dial that practice in as an art form or as a tool. I always like to say the Wim Hof method is like, or ice bathing and even breathing together, of course, is like harnessing the power of the sun with a magnifying glass. That's what ice bathing can be. So, it points it and you can burn anything. See, that's where we harness the power of the cold and the breath and create this mindset and use it as a reflective tool to do some inner work. But that allows us to be so grounded, and that makes us more powerful to, accomplish what we want in life.
Yeah. Do you think since C happened that there's a huge shift happening in humanity and happening and looking at life completely differently than what we used to be, excuse me, on like a program? And I think what I'm observing, and I'd love to hear your perspective of it, of what has happened or what has been happening for a while now.
I think that like I'll go back and just say the perfect storm, because the perfect storm that happened was technology exponentially, getting, well, it's just more advanced day by day. They're coming out with new stuff. So what's it going to be like in a few years? But so when I look back at COVID, to me it was the perfect storm, because we've insulated ourselves from nature, okay, with being inside so much and with our technology, our phones and Netflix, whatever. And when we got stuck inside, it kind of, like you said, it turned and showed a little bit of who we are ourselves, because we had to sit with ourselves inside. And we couldn't, be outside and be distracted and all that. I think what it showed us is that we're trying to make our success is more comfort. And as we're getting so comfortable, we're seeing people get more miserable. We are the most advanced, we are the most comfortable we've been in human history, but we are the most unhappy. So the perfect storm to me is we've got stuck inside. We had our devices to play on to keep us so distracted, but it added to it. Like you had to be at work at least. You couldn't touch your phone. So I worked with people over COVID, and you're going to laugh. You're going to believe this is insane. I'd be talking to somebody that never drank, was drinking, 2 bottles of wine with their husband every night. They had sober Thursdays. They pretty much were on their phone from the morning until they went to bed at night watching numbers or shopping on Amazon, because Amazon really loved the C word.
Yeah.
So then we get to come back once everything went, and it was a very strange comeback. And us here, well, we were like, I think we were we were the last place in the world to let people go golfing, and the rest of the world was like open. And I had to travel just to make money, down in South America and doing retreats and stuff there. But when we came back, it was a different world, and people didn't know how to handle it. So now you see it. The fear is still there. The whole thing put us into a sympathetic tone of fight or flight, and it elevated it just that much. And even just that little bit has shown that we are fragile because of the comfort. We'll never understand the deepest capabilities of our minds and our bodies if we're not growing through adversity. And adversity is not grabbing your phone, because I can go on my phone and scroll for hours, but it's so depleting to us mentally that when we get off, and I'll explain it this way, really simple. Here's balance. This is peace of mind. Okay? This is somebody who has, they got their shit together. So then they start watching, they get an Instagram account. And then all of a sudden they go on Instagram for 20 minutes a day. So they go here, and then after they're done with Instagram, they come back to the center. Here is pleasure, dopamine loop, instant dopamine, not dopamine you work for, so it's a different dopamine. So you're continuing to, watch reels because you're chasing the dragon, so to say. You want that big dopamine rush, but you're not getting it. You can't, not from there. So after 20 minutes, it's not a long time. So you come back to stasis or, balance, or that buffer zone, peace of mind. So then it grows, and then you start doing an hour. Then you start doing 2, 3, 4. You're on your device now, from emails to whatever, all day long. You're on your device for 6, 7 hours a day. 8, who knows? Some people, it's crazy. So when you do that, now we're reprogramming ourselves so that when we put the phone down at night, that's where we stay. No, it isn't. We go all the way over to this side, because this side was pleasure. We can't stay there now because we need an outside source. We go all the way to pain, depression, anxiety, waking up in the middle of the night, not eating well.
Don't know how to balance themselves,
Right.
coming back from the dopamine, and then they don't get
Yeah.
that, so that way they drop, right?
Yeah. So when you do, say if you're, and I have to be on this stuff, but I'll tell you, I'm lifting weights, I'm doing yoga, I am sitting quietly, I do breath work every day because I know that I have to live in that world of, I got to be on there. But I'm also very, very mindful of how much I consume, because it's a diet. It's the same thing. Like I tell people, and it's not all doom and gloom, we have to live in that world. You can spend 8 hours at your job, but then when I work with people that are in front of a computer, I get them up. They work 45 minutes, then 15 minutes is breath work or movement. Then they go back 45 minutes, and when they do this, they're like, at first they're like, okay, wait a second, my boss isn't going to like this. And I go, yes, your boss is going to like it. Watch what happens. Because after 45 minutes, even if you're struggling with something, there's an amazing thing that goes on in your hippocampus in your brain, because when you stop and you breathe and you get your mind away from it, that what you were just focused on is replaying in reverse. So sometimes then you'll come back and go, oh, shit. And then you end up figuring it out. But most of the people and the engineers that I worked with, this one group, they measured it. And in, I think it was about a month, their productivity in their whole team was up 30%. And they're taking a
Okay.
15-minute break every hour. And now their boss loves it.
Oh, wow.
Right? So that's the balance. And they're like, because we're taught to crush it. Or I hear this word, my assistant's always, I go, how you doing? He goes, I'm grinding. I'm grinding. Grinding. I got to grind. I'm like going, okay, well, stop and take a break,
Yeah.
Steve. You stop grinding all the time. But that's it. We're programmed to,
Push
well, no, don't
yourselves
stop.
and
Push,
keep
push,
going.
push.
Yeah.
But that's the, we get if we're in the comfort zone and we go outside to the growth zone, that is how you should be working. But if you don't ever take a break, you go to the danger zone. Then something breaks, then you can't work at all. And
Right.
that just goes to the whole physiology of the body. So we go back to talking about whatever 6 hours you're on your phone and you're over in pleasure all the time. You don't stop in the middle, peace of mind or balance. Now you're in pain all the time. So all you have to do is refine so that you come back here to the center a little bit more. So it comes back to balance. I teach people the nervous system it needs to be in balance. You need to sleep well. One of the biggest measuring sticks to your health and wellness is, I always ask, I say, oh, you must sleep really good. You sleep 8 hours. You don't get up to go to the bathroom. You sleep in the same position. You feel amazing when you get up. And you know what? 9 out of 10 people go,
No.
no way.
Mm.
I'm up all night going to the bathroom. I wake up exhausted. I'm in bed for 9 hours. And it's because they have a dysregulated nervous system that's out of balance. And we're not supposed to be insulated from Mother Nature. We came from her. Put your bare feet on the ground, and it takes away the charge. Like even if I have my phone and you do the voltage reader,
Yep.
when you are at a computer touching it or you have your phone in your hand, your voltage goes right up. But if
Mm.
I put my feet on the ground, voltage goes to zero.
Mm.
So there's just simple, like grounding, you hear earthing and all that. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I believe in that. I do that every day.
I do it
And
too.
I,
I think it's so
oh,
important to connect it, even with yourself, recharging yourself, and to basically start a new day or on a positive note, right?
yeah, there's
So
an
I went
infinite amount
through,
of electrons. Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
I went through. You just mentioned about the phone, and during COVID, I went through that stage too because it was nothing else to do. And what did you do? You get on your phone. So then
Hmm.
consciously, I had to remind myself and be like, Alex, get off this phone because it's ruining your day in a way. And you're right. And I think you brought such a good point that when you're there and you have that dopamine and you really want it constantly, I remember too sometimes putting my phone away and then I got distracted and then I felt sad that I actually had to go back and pick up that phone. So literally, it took me a while to say to myself, I keep on telling myself constantly, it's like, nope, when you get up in the morning, you do not touch the phone. Either it's business related, it's personal, either you want to scroll through things. Nope, the phone stays.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
this habit has become my it's my life now. So I get up in
Hmm.
the morning, my alarm goes off because I use my phone for my alarm. I turn it off, and my phone is on my night table. I don't touch it until my kids go to school. I'll
Good
sleep
for
on
you.
it. Yeah. And then
Good for
after,
you.
obviously, it's a day where you have to start your day. Like you said, we live in this world where you have to have access to it because that's our business. That's how we make our living and things like that. And yeah, then I go on it for a bit. I do my things and then put it away. And that's it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good
And
for
that
you.
it
And
was really, really hard to do. It was
yeah,
hard.
in routine, and it's an amazing thing when we get into a routine. It might be hard to do at the beginning, but you know, the problem with instant gratification is we're in the moment only wanting more comfort, and we don't see the long game. And I always like to say that with my clients or teams or anything. I said, I'm here to help you play the long game so that you become the best version of yourself that has not a lifespan, but a health span. And that health span needs to also reach out to, and it's going to reach out and affect your family, and a lot of things, you want to be able to What do you want to be doing when you're 80 years old? And it's funny when I'm talking to somebody that's 40 and they're like, well, I don't think that way. And I said, well, you need to think that way because we're so in the moment that we think that, okay, I'll worry about that shit later. And that's not how we need to live, especially now. Technology affords us to feel superhuman. And this is a new thing that I've come up with. But technology helps us to feel superhuman. But that's the illusion, because there's no such thing.
Right.
There's only feeling super to be human. And technology's taken that away from us, giving us an illusion that we can do anything. But the thing is that that's because it's stimulating us in this moment. We don't see the delayed gratification. I'm what they call a Gen Xer. And, we had to work. I was, babysitting when I was young. I was mowing lawns. I was out there. I seen my dad worked hard. He was an immigrant. He came into Canada and built himself up and did extremely well. So I had this thing ingrained in me. And the technology has allowed us to feel this amazing thing, dopamine. We used to have to work for it, actually, labor to get it, and it was worth its weight in gold. It actually made us stronger. And now, if we're at our fingertips, is this technology, this mechanistic way of living that's totally insulated us from our greatest teacher, which is Mother Nature.
Yeah.
And putting your feet on the ground is an infinite amount of energy. Let the sun hit you too at the same time. Wow. But that, almost seems too simple, because we do live in a world that has us so distracted, but distracted to complicate so much. And that's where I see the simplicity isn't there. So that's why I always like to say, when I start working, I'm with a football team next week, and I'm like, we're going back to basics, boys. And that's your breath. That's Mother Nature, where we are right now. We're going to put our feet down. We're going to feel like where we came from, and this is a powerful place to be, because it's our greatest healer. Mother Nature is our greatest teacher. She's merciless, but she's righteous, and that's, I think, to even say what you said about, asked about, the shift. I think, like you said, you saw what happened to you when the big C thing was happening. And I think a lot of us saw what was going on, and we went, we have an opportunity to get better, because this stuff is showing me that I can fall into that trap also.
Right.
But, being in what you do and myself, it's only helping us develop more to influence more people to be better versions by a little bit more wellness in their life, or self-awareness, or whatever it may be, ice bathing. But there's always a choice. We have freedom to make a change any time as a human. And during these hard times is when we usually get strong. So I think that's my whole point is I think there's a shift, because even though technology's got us all kind of walking, smartphones, I say, smartphones, yeah, they got us walking around like they got us walking around like zombies.
Yes.
So they are really smart, but I think then all of a sudden people are going, wait a second, I can't live like this. But it's really showed us that there's always something else. And I think that, technology will, I always say, use your phone, don't let it use you.
Yes.
Use technology, don't let it use you. And I think people are just going to wake up to that. And there's going to be such significant advancement that, we're going to figure out how to use technology to give us more enlightenment, to give us more self-awareness, and to come together. As I always say, there's only one race, the human race. And I do believe technology. This morning I did a live on Instagram, and I think about 1,000 people came in all together, in and out, to do breath work. But they were from Tibet, Nepal, Nicaragua, Honduras, Poland, got all kinds of people. I've been to Poland lots. People from Poland, Czech Republic. I think I could name all the countries. But to me, that's where technology says to me, it's not all that bad, because I helped a lot of people today reconnect to themselves.
Yeah.
So I think technology will figure itself out, and then we'll be using it where maybe there'll be a day we don't have to work or do anything. We just have fun. Everybody's taking care of everybody.
That's it. I love this. I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So on this note, Dan, is there any final thought that you'd like to share with the audience?
Oh, okay. How much time do I have?
You have lots of time. There is no time limit.
Okay. So I got asked this. I was sitting in front of our RBC, the board, a group of their management, and in Toronto, and actually it was after the workshop, and we were at dinner, and the head guy there said to me, he says, Dan, he goes, what can you give us right now, a jewel or something that will, the one thing, he said, I remember, he says, the one thing we can take from this to really move forward in our taking back control over, our mental and physical well-being, our wellness. And I said, there's one thing, and I always say it because I get this question a lot, is self-awareness. Know where you are. Because if you know where you are, you know what you need. If you don't know where you are, you live in your mind and you only get what you want. And that's more comfort. So when we practice breath work, which it's really, I really am so excited to see how it's become so popular, because it is the tool that I think is going to really, reconnect the world. I mean, I just put out a course. I think I had probably close to 1,500 people sign up for it. It's on breathing. It's just a simple free masterclass course. And these people that I'm talking to all the time, and they're like, this is just giving me something else. And that something else is self-awareness. They're like, I feel happier. Imagine just knowing that you can feel happier. Knowing where you are in this moment and what you need is to be able to self-regulate. And, there's a Harvard study that had 1,000 people, this was a few years ago, and it was about success. They wanted to follow 1,000 people to the age of 30, I believe. Don't quote me. It's something like that were the most successful. And success was measured not by money. Success was measured by accomplishing goals, following their dreams and all this stuff. But the side effect of that was these people were also, happy, healthy, and strong. And a lot of them were successful in the business world. But they all the most successful people in the world, they all, or in this study, all had one thing in common. They could self-regulate. They were self-aware. So we're living in a world that distracts us. It's really good at it. We have amazing technology. We can get there's so many good apps out there to keep you distracted, games, whatever, it doesn't matter, scrolling. We're getting really good at being distracted. That's taking away from self-awareness, because we're not grounded. And not grounded is in putting your feet on the earth, but not grounded is in knowing where we are and what we need. Because the heart, I always say, our hearts know what we need. It's the mind that gets in the way. Right. And technology is controlling us. And I always say we need to make technology our employee, not our enemy. Because it's taking away, and the enemy of our self-awareness, which is enlightenment, which is just consciousness, if you want to get, other words. I don't like to say consciousness, I say self-awareness. To be conscious and in this moment, and to be enjoying life without wanting distraction. Enjoying life because I know what I need in this moment, and finding an equilibrium, a balance, so that I can live my best self. Self-awareness is one of the greatest tools that has side effects of authenticity. And I explained to people, I said, the lowest vibrations is anger and fear, and then you come up and you have joy, and then you have love. And they've measured this in people's in their vibration scans. And then somebody that's authentic is the highest vibration. They've never seen anything like it. See, they're comfortable who they are. But a lot of people are stuck in line, following in line, thinking they have to be like others, but, and it's scary to step out of line. But I always say the bravest thing that you can do in life is get out of line, not follow the others, carve your own path, and find out who you are. You may, I always say pioneers like that, take arrows in the back, but what happens is that you start to, and another thing I like to say in my merch channel for Tribe of Weirdos is your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yes.
So if you have an authentic vibe and you don't have to show up as somebody else with your tribe, it's the most powerful thing. You can ask the people around me. I don't think they're gonna. You won't see anybody more myself. Although I did one thing. I didn't be totally myself on this, and I'll have to tell you what it is. Is I swear a lot.
Yeah. It's okay. I do too.
Oh, good. Fuck it. Excellent.
It's all
Awesome.
right.
But I think
And
that
I'm not shameful in the beginning. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a lady. I have to be right. Then I'm like, you know what?
screw that.
No.
So I'll just finish with it. I think that the self-awareness and learning it has so many branching side effects that are amazing side effects of feeling at peace with who you are, being authentic. Your mental health is so, when you have self-awareness, that means you're putting in the work, because we're in a distracted place all the time, technology and that, so we all do have to learn how to sit still with ourselves and do some breath work. I tell people that. I said the world has to do this, because if we're going to go all the way to that side, then we need to come back to here. We have to do the work that's tough, that's chosen discomfort, lift weights. I mean, your muscles secrete hormones that are good for depression. You're depressed, make some changes. Give yourself more choices. There's so many little things that happen when you become self-aware. You're like, okay, I'm down. I need to do, what do I need to do? And that's when you kind of open your heart up, you open your mind up, and, like we can say the universe provides or whatever, but, I do believe in karma. When you're doing good things happen to you on the outside. When you're doing good things on the inside, great things happen on the inside also. Because we have a to-do list on the outside, but the most important thing, if we want to take care of everybody out there and get our shit done, is the to-be list on the inside. Yeah. This is the one. We've been created, and we were put here. I mean, that's not woo-woo or anything. Something created us, our parents. But I mean, something's going on, and I'll finish it this way. You were born and given life. That's the greatest gift you were ever given. So life doesn't necessarily now have to devote itself to making you happy, because you should just appreciate life because it gave it to you. Because if you wake up tomorrow, life gave you more fucking life. We need to appreciate what we have. And when we're self-aware, we can do that, because gratitude's a superpower. Kindness is a superpower. That's how this world works. You know what happens when somebody does something nice for you out of the blue. You're like, whoa. Yeah. And they feel amazing. It's for both of you. Yeah. But that person that did that can only give kindness if they've taken care of themselves. Because if you don't have kindness and love and all these things inside of you, how do you give them to somebody else? But if you have anxiety and anger and all these things, so self-awareness comes back to knowing what I need in this moment to be happy, healthy, and strong, to be able to move on in life and have my best life, live it on my own terms, be myself. Those are all these amazing things that come from self-awareness. And what I've learned in my travels and my studies and all the various teachers that I've, from Wim Hof, it's like same thing. Wim's like going, get out of your head. Get into your body, and being with him, I've done crazy shit with him, like, stuff you never thought you could do, because there's this higher vibration that we can be at together, and that's the authenticity. People, when I'm with Wim and the groups are all asking me stuff, and there's like 300 people there last year, and they're like, how come I get emotional when I'm around him? He makes me feel so good. And I said, well, because, and I had to think about it. I said, he has no filter. He has no filter at all. Yeah. But he is so authentic. There's nobody more authentic than Wim Hof. He's out there just doing his shit. He doesn't care what you think, and it doesn't matter. So that is so attractive to a group of 300 listening to him speak. And I said, yeah, I said, that's one of the biggest things I learned from him. I remember him even saying to me, he goes, don't retake the video. He goes, screw it up. He goes, I just put it out there. And I'm like going, really? But I do that now. I'm out there. I do my 5 things that, made me go viral on Instagram. And
Yeah.
I get out there. I pick my 5 things. I go out there. I do breath work, have a little caffeine. And then I get out there and I just like blah, 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 blah.
I have to learn this because I'm still
But
not
yeah,
okay, it has to be a certain way. And I'm like, okay, just
yeah.
go with it. So,
Well, it does. You do have to have these little, because it's the way technology
yes,
works. But
yes,
just to close it, if you know who you are, you know where you are, and that's knowing what you need in this moment. That means you're from your heart.
yeah,
That's where you will live a life that is beautiful. It's that we're in the head. We're under feeling this beautiful thing, this temple that runs our nervous system and our consciousness around, that's been, kind of squashed a little bit. If we understand that, Mother Nature, all these tools that we have at our disposal, that are so simple. Breath, put your feet on the ground, move your body, swing your arms, swing them side to side, whatever. Doesn't matter. Troy Casey, he does that on his channel, the Zen swing. I learned from him. Just move. Move your body. A human that moves better, breathes better, and learns how to focus is like the superhuman of the future, Alexandra, is somebody that can focus on something for more than 10 seconds, they say.
yeah,
So, self-awareness is going to be the thing that brings us back. I think technology is going to help us in this way. And I think big things are really to come for humanity. I think that, we're going to end up being just one race again, the human race, with no
yep,
borders or programming of we're different, because we're not. We all live
yeah.
on
We're all the
this
same.
planet,
Yeah,
and
I
we're all the
agree.
same, definitely. So that's what I think. Self-awareness. Just be self-aware, everyone, and guess what's going to happen? Your life will fall into place. It's going to be a little bit of work. It's going to take work. But through adversity and a little bit of work, we can make absolutely huge changes. And don't overestimate what you can do in a week, and underestimate what you can do that year. Don't try to crush it. Just do a little bit. Go on Instagram, do one of my videos. Come on with me. I'm live every day. And do a
Perfect.
breath technique. That's all. And, see what that does. And then all of a sudden you do one every day, a 2-minute breath technique. Well, in a year, you've built a foundation of self-awareness through breathing that has branched out now into your life. So, everybody knows they know what they have to do, but it's just doing it.
It's just
And,
doing it and getting there. Yeah.
yeah, and getting there. So, but there's lots of people out there motivating and influencing, like yourself, on this beautiful thing that you're doing here in this platform. So,
Thank you.
this is part of why technology is going to save us.
Yes.
I believe it's going to save us.
I believe so too. In a good
Yeah,
way, if you're using it in the right way. Right.
that's right.
Right. Well, that was very nice. And then how can people reach you? So what's the best way to reach you?
What's the best way to? So I have a website, which is kind of like my landing page, where I have all my stuff there, and people reach out when I do one-on-one calls and stuff. So it's DanDeLuis.com, DanDeLuis.com. Plus I'm on the gram, mostly Instagram now, because the platform has grown so much for me, and it allows me to reach so many people, and everything's free on my stuff. Like I do breath work every day, it's free. I didn't monetize it in that way because I wanted it to reach a lot of people. So you can reach me on the gram, on Insta, and check out what I'm doing. It's at Dan, DAN underscore DELUIS. And what else am I doing? I'm on Facebook and stuff too. It's my name. My YouTube is Dan deLuis Wellness is another place you can go on, where I put just a few videos that I put them on there. It's a nice way for my coaching clients want want me to do videos for them, so I just do them and then upload them there. I find it's easiest, and then other people can do them. But yeah, and then I have Nature's Elements Wellness .com, which is my retreat center here that just opened up last week.
Okay.
And we do retreats, a lot of kind of Nordic stuff into the ice baths, saunas, cold baths, and we have red light room and all that kind of stuff here. But yeah, those are the places I'm hanging out.
Wow, that's wonderful. What I'll do is I'll get all the information from you, and then I'll definitely share that with the audience so they can reach
Oh, that's
you.
awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. The conversation was absolutely amazing.
Mm.
Um, so, Dan, thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Alexander, for having me on here, and keep doing what you're doing. Keep spreading the word through your platform here. It's been an honor to be on, and also, you were telling me before what you're doing. So, just keep helping people feel better.
Thank you.
All right. Much love.
Much love.